What's up, y'all? This is Reggie, aka Speeding Bullet, with my co-host B, 3 exclamation points, bringing you the political perspective.
Savvy enough to hear certain things and not automatically be acting.
Elon Musk kind of like snapped on
This is like 3 more seasons of Landman right here.
Yeah, definitely. Where the natural resources are ransacked, and these countries are normally not better after the United States comes over there and just starts trashing their country.
And always remember, if you're not political, you do not have a perspective. Now let's talk some politics. This week's version of the political perspective, I am Reggie, aka Speeding Bullet. I am not with my co-host B, 3 exclamation points, but I'm sure he's here. He's there in spirit. But always remember, if you are not political, then you do not have a perspective. So, first thing that I want to bring up is the Middle East and the United States and our continuous war with with Iran and a few kind of development. So, as you all know, the memorandum of understanding has expired, with Iran. So, as of right now, there is no longer a ceasefire, and the Trump administration is now threatening to bomb Oman. So Oman is the country that's on the opposite side of the Strait of Hormuz. So when you think about the narrow waterway that's been talked about, where 25% of the world's oil goes through this waterway, Oman was negotiating or talking with Iran to see if they can come up with a solution to be able to open up the strait to free travel, to kind of get that part of the world and that waterway open. However, Trump pretty much told Oman, if if they come up with a deal with Iran, that Trump would bomb Oman in response to them negotiating a Strait of Hormuz deal with Iran. What's significant about that is Oman has been an ally of the United States for roughly 50 years. One of our deepest and longest Middle Eastern relationships have been with Oman. So the threats from Trump to be directed towards towards Oman, when what they're trying to do is to mediate this conflict, to be able to get the Strait of Hormuz open, but also some type of conclusion and end to this war. So we can all kind of stay tuned on that front, because it is constantly changing. It changes every day. I think today or yesterday, there was an issue between the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, who they halted all financial and trade transactions with Iran, as a response to Iran bombing different countries and firing missiles at different countries. So there's a lot going on in the Middle East. There's also the Israel kind of Gaza ceasefire that is being worked on. As of right now, some of the sticking points with that is, the disarmament of Hamas, getting them to surrender all of their weapons, to kind of finalize the peace agreement. So stay tuned. That side of the world, that part of the world, right now is just chaotic. It's conflicts everywhere. So stay tuned with that. The next thing I want to talk about is the national debt. So the national debt has hit an all-time high which it has surpassed $40 trillion for the first time in history yesterday. So this figure, reported by the U.S. Treasury Department, after total public debt has ticked up to $40 trillion. So this is not a good milestone to have. But you guys might ask, how does the national debt work, and what are some of the drivers, and also like what are some of the consequences of having a high national debt? So the national debt, to kind of sum it up in like the simplest terms, it is government spending that outspends tax revenue. So, for example, the government can only, government brings in a certain amount of taxes. Let's just say it's $100 that they bring in taxes. However, the government, this is the federal government. The federal government spends money on different programs, on different departments within the federal government to be able to fund the government that we use. For examples, it might be military spending, it might be Social Security, it might be what's considered like entitlement programs, different programs. So if the government is bringing in, say, $100 in tax revenue, but they're spending $200, then now it gives you a national debt. And the national debt is something that has been the national debt has been growing year after year. But one thing that's interesting about the national debt is, all presidents, politicians at some point talk about lowering the national debt. And one of the things that Trump kind of ran on was to be able to lower the national debt. So you guys may remember Doge. Doge was a department ran by Elon Musk that was supposed to eliminate all of this government spending, all of this what they considered unnecessary spending, get rid of certain programs that he just felt like were not useful anymore, and he was gonna trim upwards of $2 trillion off of the national debt. Obviously, all of that did not happen. There were some cuts on the margins, but nothing significant to be able to put any type of dent into the national debt. But what's also concerning is, under the Trump administration, the national debt has increased about $12 trillion for the years that Trump has been in office. So his first term and the 2 years of this term have grown the national debt, over 12 trillion just in his time alone. So it's something that we have to, it's something that most people don't really understand the impact, understand how and how the national debt does impact everyday citizens. But it directly impacts the economy. It drives up borrowing costs for consumers. It really kind of squeezes the federal budget, and it heightens the long-term financial risk, which we all know things like the stock market crashing and all of these kind of doom and gloom economic scenarios. A lot of those start with the amount of debt the country has accumulated. So stay tuned with that. Like I said, most politicians, they talk about the national debt, but very few very few choose to do anything really tangible to decrease the national debt. But it is something that is kind of very important to the health of the country. Next thing I want to talk about is the Natalie Harp story. So Um, Georgia Senator John Ossoff made a comment a couple of days ago about President Trump and his desire not to actually do the job of president, and his desire to um, run to it's almost funny just even saying it, but um, but he just criticized um, the Trump apparent um, infatuation, or Natalie Harp's infatuation with Donald Trump. But he made a comment that all Trump wants to do is ride on his expensive luxury jet that doesn't have any of the security measures that Air Force One should have. All he wants to do is ride on this, ride around with Natalie. And most people were unfamiliar with who Natalie was until some folks did some digging and came up with Natalie Harp. So Natalie Harp is a high level White House aide who serves as, I believe, the special assistant and executive assistant to President Trump. So she is recognized as one of the president's most fierce, loyal gatekeepers, and manages both his information flow and his digital presence. Some people call her the walking typewriter because she walks around and she walks around with like this portable kind of like typewriter and prints out articles for the president, polling for the president that are supportive, that support him, and anything that is used in order to to give to the president. So she's one of his closest advisors. However, some of the kind of concern about the relationship between President Trump and Natalie Harp is that she is always with the president, to the point where there are stories about when she first became a part of like Trump's orbit, how she got into a shouting match when Trump was headed to one of his many kind of court appearances, and the Secret Service was trying to kind of tell her that there was no room for her to go in the motorcade to follow Trump to whatever the destination is for a court appearance. And apparently she had such a problem with this that she ended up riding kind of in the trunk of one of their kind of SUVs. And you can just imagine a Suburban and her being kind of like stuffed in the in the back of the Suburban. But some of the uh notes that Natalie Hart has given to Trump has been kind of concerning, and her brother was on CNN kind of like discussing this, but like she has been kind of known to leave just some, I mean, at the very least we'll call it like adoring kind of content, but like she left a note saying that you are all that matters to me, and she would write things like you are the alpha and the omega, and she would apologize for not being as accessible and things of that nature. Seems to me like just overall like kind of like weird behavior. But this became a bit of a controversy just because on the on the right, it became more of a conversation about women and about women's kind of like place in proximity to men with power. And it was just kind of like extremely ironic, that yeah, I think John Ossoff was kind of making a point by bringing this up, and it got his kind of campaign in the spotlight, and there was some kind of like innuendo of maybe there's some, some wrongdoing between Trump and Natalie Harp. However, it's just very kind of interesting to hear the right kind of talk about women and the protection of women, and in the same breath, Donald Trump makes it a point to be very disrespectful to women, and to say, as a history is saying, all kinds of like outlandish things about women, including implying that Kamala Harris may have slept her way to the top of her political career. So it's just kind of interesting how this is kind of coming back and kind of showing a little bit of hypocrisy on the side of the right. But it is something that is putting John Ossoff's campaign, in the spotlight and giving him some press, and I'm sure he appreciates that for his campaign. Next thing I want to talk about is just Byron Donalds from our fellow TBD member James's home state of Florida. So Byron Donalds, it was a representative from Florida, has been in the spotlight for a couple of years for his unwavering like support of Donald Trump, and he ran in the Republican primary for governor of Florida. Now, Florida is at least most people would consider Florida a deep red state, meaning that governor, lieutenant governor, for I don't know, over 20 years has been Republican. So it is a deep kind of red Republican state that doesn't really have the large scale Democrats, and especially like Democratic politicians in the state. So Byron Donalds, as the leading candidate, is poised to be, I think, Florida's first black governor. So that is just a great milestone in general for black people. However, a lot of the criticisms of Byron Donalds is that he does not push policies that are beneficial to black people. That will be a race to follow as the weeks go on, leading up to the midterms in November. So if you guys are curious, you can check out Byron Donalds. He has a pretty large footprint, and you'll be able to see where he stands on different topics and different policies. But some of the critiques of Byron Donalds is that as a Republican, he's not willing to push any agendas that are specifically for black people. Last thing I want to talk about is just a local political story. So on August 17th, Philadelphia Mayor Cherelle Parker presented the key to the city to Isaiah HMBL Thomas during a ceremony at City Hall. So Isaiah is a local community activist, Twitch streamer from the Nicetown area, who's receiving the honor after completing a grueling 3,000-mile cross-country walk from Philadelphia to California. So, this is just a great kind of achievement and a good kind of feel-good story for the city. But the mission, as Thomas describes it, completed a 124-day like faith walk to raise money for a proposed Philadelphia-based trade school called HMBL University. So this school aims to provide hands-on career training and financial literacy for the under served youth in the city and beyond. You know, this historic journey raised over, I think, $181,000 towards a $200,000 goal. And you know, this was live streamed the whole time. You know, so you know, some of the obstacles that that he overcame, you know, was, you know, just extreme weather, you know, desert heat. He was hit by two vehicles, which is crazy. You know, and everything that you would think of, being profiled, having you know, to constantly explain to law enforcement like what he was doing, because people were just like calling the police on him, or the police were just stopping, you know, to you know, question him and things of that nature. Um, you know, but he completed this, you know, he completed this journey, which is amazing. Walking, you know, across the country, 124 days, for your cause. You know, some people have called him like the black, like Forrest Gump, which I think is a great kind of comparison. Except Forrest Gump is a movie, and you know, Isaiah is doing this in real time. So if anybody wants to, you know, donate to his university that he's trying to put together, I'm sure if you do a quick Google search, it's all over. You'll be able to find, you know, the information to be able to, you know, to be able to be a part something that is important in our communities, which is to you know, not only give back, but be an example and to be a role model to you know, to the youth in our cities, in our black cities. I think that it is, I won't say it's easy to just write a check, but you know, it's much more profound when you are a tangible example of some of the great things that our folks can do. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. As always, thank you guys for tuning in, and always remember, if you are not political, then you do not have a perspective.
Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.